I feel like commenting on the news. So here goes. Just gotta wait 3 minutes till it starts. Oh, God. What a night. What a day. What a life. Man, they should be reporting more on these fires. My God. There's so many fires in the U.S. right now. The Dixie Fire has burned almost 750,000 acres. It's the number 2 fire in all of California history. And if I'm not mistaken, the number 1 fire was last year, and it was about 1 million acres. Out of control. It's such a loss and such a sad thing to see. Because, my God, it's just... people lose their homes. It pollutes the air. All that carbon that those trees sucked out of the sky, and it could get released back into this atmosphere. I mean, there's just like 100 bad things about fires. You know, people are displaced right now. It's hot as hell over there. And I was reading about it, and it was saying that some of the mountain communities don't have air conditioning up in like Northern California, Central California, because they don't need it. But they're having a heat wave, and so you have people displaced by fires in a heat wave, you know, sweating it out. It sounds so miserable. Poor people. God. So, you know, I'm sure the news will talk about COVID-19 and Afghanistan. And, you know, I've got a real long, busy day today, and this is sort of just a nice, healthy distraction to take my mind off of what I got to do. So I'm going to flip around, probably start with CNN, then maybe go over to some Morning Joe. And I'm not watching Fox News, because people have lost it.
All around the world, it is Monday, August 23rd. I'm John Berman with Brianna Keeler, and we do begin with breaking news. A deadly firefight overnight at the airport in Kabul
I heard about this.
involving U.S., German, and Afghan forces and an unknown gunman. The source says it began when a sniper fired upon Afghan guards helping to secure the airport, killing one of them.
That's what I heard.
At this point, we're told no American.
I heard when there was one death.
This comes after President Biden's national security advisor told Brianna about the threat of a terrorist attack, the threat by the Islamic State.
The threat is real, it is acute, it is persistent, and it is
I should look it up.
focused on with every
They've been talking about ISIS-K.
Close to 20,000 people.
I wrote myself a note. I'm not sure if there's much online about them yet. I don't even know if they're real.
Over the
But they're
weekend,
talking
at
about
least
them.
7 Afghan civilians were killed in a crush of people stampeding outside the airport. And the source tells CNN that only American citizens, green card holders, their children and spouses, and NATO allied citizens will be permitted now through the gates. Afghan special immigrant visa applicants and their families are not being allowed in. Those, of course, are Afghans whose lives are
Close to 20,000 evacuees remain at Kabul airport.
Many of them translators or cultural.
They're trying to get this done by the end of the month.
The U.S. may extend the Afghan withdrawal deadline past August 31st as evacuations continue.
We're working hard as fast as we can to get people out. We've had made a number of changes.
Man, being president always ages people, you know?
Access
They're
around the
done.
airport.
Look at George Bush or Barack Obama.
Now, a senior
When they start the job and when they end the job, they look demonstrably older. I don't know how Biden's going to look much older. He looks much older. He's going to look like he's got one foot in the grave. God bless him. I think he's done a good job. People have been very, very hard on him lately, but you know, we have to remember that we're in a day and age where there's cameras everywhere. You know, I think that there's probably been much, much worse situations when people withdraw their troops all over the country and the world throughout history. And we're just getting a very, very close inside look about everything going on here. There's a lot of armchair quarterbacks. a lot of some Monday morning quarterbacks. And I think the news knows people are getting COVID weary and they're looking for their next big thing, and this is interesting people right now. And so they write a fancy title, they show people scared, they show bearded men with weapons, and people tune in, people talk about it. Don't scare me. I'm not worried about it. I think Biden did a decent job. Could it have been better? Sure. Could it have been worse? Absolutely. You know, they're saying it was chaotic, and I said something like chaos. You know, I don't think this is chaos. You know, chaos would have been the Taliban gunning down all of those people that are trying to get on that one plane full of passengers when the U.S. flew them out. I think they had like 640 passengers all jammed in there. It's a pretty famous picture now. But yeah, that would have been chaotic. Arms, limbs flying, blood everywhere. The Taliban issuing death threats into the camera. The Taliban just burning shit, burning whatever. People, gunning down people. I mean, they have been remarkably well behaved for people that are that well armed. Or we have the most terrible coverage we've ever had. But I don't think that's it. I think we have pretty good coverage, TV coverage, inside Afghanistan. I think we see what's going on. And I think they keep saying it's chaotic just to get people to keep watching. And this is one of those rare moments where I think Fox News is sort of driving this, because they're reporting on it in a negative way, and Biden's popularity is supposedly going down. And so I think the politicians in the Democratic Party and the liberal mainstream media are tripping out. And so they think, well, they've got to address this somehow. And it seems like there's no real positive spin on it. And it seems that they're agreeing with the Fox News narrative that this is a blemish, a mistake, the way he did it, and problematic and chaotic and all this. And I don't really see that. I don't know.
There are planes leaving pretty regularly now, and large numbers of refugees, of evacuees, getting ready to get on those flights. This is a group that are heading into Qatar, where they're hoping then to either stay there or move on. Leon, you're about...
I was thinking the only way that I could see that they could have done this better or differently is to lie. You know, if President Biden would have said the opposite of what he did, I think he would have put the Taliban on their heels, and then he could have evacuated everybody safely. That's the only way I think he could have done it. But I think he would have had to lie to the American people and the entire world, you know. Just imagine it, him getting on TV and going, all right, we're going to win this war in Afghanistan. We're sending over there 50,000 troops. We're bringing the Taliban to justice. We're taking over the whole entire place. Look out. And then do the exact opposite, you know. Or, you know, send some troops over there and just get everybody out of there, and then go, you know, I just said that because I wanted them to leave us the hell alone and be scared, and it worked, and we're out. So I don't see any other real way to have pulled this off any better than they did.
Female education, of the arts, of cinema. They thought they had a future. Now that future is getting on aircraft and leaving. As one of the evacuees just said.
And that might have not worked too. There's no telling how they would have reacted to that. It might have empowered the Afghan army though. And it might have made them stick around and waited for the Americans, and might have made them want to fight instead of give up and run away.
Now statements coming from the Taliban spokesman Abu Qatar saying that as far as the Taliban is concerned, any plan the United States...
And the Taliban took a whole lot of weapons too that were left. One thing that was this, it doesn't look like they have a good relationship with Pakistan, because they're actually flying people to Germany first, and then they're flying them out of Germany, Ramstein Airport. But Pakistan's a lot closer. They could bus people to Lahore, Pakistan, maybe, 500 miles away, and then they could fly people out of there. But there's a Taliban in Pakistan, You know, I don't think they're
an
very.
inclusive government.
I don't think
Any
Pakistan
kind
is
of
a big fan of the U.S.
over a humanitarian mission at that time would have very negative consequences, frankly, for the Taliban. So I think they may well moderate their language, not least because they are in daily and regular contact with the United States, the Qatari government, and the coalition as part of this humanitarian effort, and they can all agree that the principal threat to the whole process at the moment is the so-called Islamic State, ISIS. So to talk about what the Taliban also have.
There's going to be a vacuum there, and we're not going to be able to control it.
Where the Northern Alliance is beginning to regroup members of the
And I know they don't want to go back in there,
army, and they have been
but they should really learn how to recruit or encourage their neighbors to help them. You know, the neighboring countries. Somebody came on TV, some pundit, and said the Taliban are taking people, the whole country, 200 years back into the past. If that's true, at least they're not taking them 1,000 years back into the past. They'll get over it. They'll move on. They'll evolve. You know, maybe they should treat it like Cuba. You know, the way they kind of try to fix Cuba is make them more liberal. Give them the same liberal stuff that Americans get that changed America into such a liberal country.
And I have to say, Brianna, in a minute, we're
I
gonna
jokingly said, why don't they tell the Taliban that they won a sweepstakes to go to Las Vegas, a trip to Vegas, and send them over to Las Vegas, you know, show them a good time, and they'll come back there all loose and liberal and shit, and be like, hey,
this morning we're standing by
maybe Allah might approve of this. Let's build a casino. Let's build a sports stadium. Maybe women shouldn't cover their entire body, head to toe, everywhere.
Number of deaths. Joining us now is Dr. Dave Dillazerda, ICU medical director.
But you know, all civilizations have a beginning point. Even the United States, you know, in 1777, it was very repressive to you know, black people, to women. But it didn't stay that way. You know, it evolved. So I think in this day and age, it's very difficult for countries to stay in the dark age, in the Stone Age, unless the U.S. intervenes and makes them that way, you know, with sanctions and other things. See, they're kind of doing the opposite right now. They're talking about freezing all of their assets and not recognizing them. And if they go that route, then I don't know how these people are going to evolve the country into a more presentable 21st century country where people have equal rights and are treated fairly. It's not going to happen by magic or osmosis. It's not going to happen with the U.S. soldiers there either, per se.
What's the range of ages?
So we continue seeing between 24 to 45, especially in a few cases with older patients, but most of them continue to be 25 to 45.
So Florida records most deaths in a week. COVID cases top 3 million.
Getting a hospital say they're all getting out.
I was shocked when I read the COVID deaths numbers because they went way down. They said about 500 some odd people died 2 days ago, and then about 100 some odd people died yesterday. I don't know, maybe they...
Do you have a sense of
I was shocked because just before that it was almost 1,000.
It seems like the Delta is pretty contagious.
Saw this on worldometers.info/coronavirus. It's got very up-to-date numbers. I've been checking them out for over a year.
Social distancing, so it's pretty easy to spread among the community.
So for some reason, the deaths just went way down.
all the people you're seeing?
Yesterday, there was 10% of the deaths there were about 3 or 4 days ago.
You choose not to get vaccine, you choose to maybe go to the ICU. And that's what we're seeing now.
There could be counting problems. There could be skewing. It was Sunday. Maybe they count poorly on Sunday. Maybe they overcounted earlier in the week so they could undercount on Sunday. I'm not sure. Sunday's slow news day. They report I think fewer people watch the news. I wish somebody could address that.
Thank you very much.
But I'm interested in what happens next.
Coming up, we have brand new audio of an reportedly
That's right.
Seems whether
Trump booed at Alabama rally after encouraging vaccine. I saw this.
you got your freedoms,
This was gnarly.
but I happen to take the vaccine.
They didn't stand with him with his skepticism about this vaccine.
Let's bring our White House reporter.
Or I mean, rather, his encouraged to take it. Some of them, there wasn't like a raucous booing. The whole entire place on their feet screaming at him. It was just, a handful of boos and some looks, and
That's it. That's it.
he told people to go get it, and they're just like, what?
Holding two different thoughts in your mind in December. At the same time, Jonathan Mayer, this is what we've been asking Donald Trump to do. What healthcare
He probably went off script right there. He does that sometimes.
said you should take it.
You,
I took it.
he reads the GOP stuff,
Some of them booting
and sometimes he just rambles on, and I don't know if they wrote that for him, or if he just ad-libbed right there.
It's glad he did it. I hope he continues doing it. Joe, this is good.
See, that was kind of the Fox News narrative too.
That is the fear that a lot of
Conservatives and Fox News seem real split on this COVID-19 vaccination, because they're the party that has a constituency that rejects it, but then also they have people in the establishment wing that accept it. And they've got the old people that are afraid and that have taken it. Maybe some of them are lying about it, some of them aren't, I don't know. So there's plenty of people on both sides in the Republican Party. But I think the Democratic Party is pretty unanimous in saying it's fine, take it. I'm not a vaccine denier, but I support your freedom and your right to do whatever you want to do with your body. I'm pro-choice when it comes to childbirth, and I'm pro-choice when it comes to vaccines. And as a matter of fact, I think we should rethink every vaccine. Especially if we're talking about giving them to children. Sure, they've been tested, but see, people don't want to live 1,000 years. They don't want to live forever. Doctors intend on you dying at the end of the average lifespan. So if you're happy with that, then do whatever they say. If you're not happy with that, then we need to rethink some things.
And as a final point, the White House, of course, is grateful anytime a Republican leader speaks up to say, hey, you should take the vaccine.
Because there could still be stabilizers like methylmercury and things in these vaccines that could be harmful if you get too many of them, or if they're in your body too long. They're ripe for abuse. There could be things in them that we don't know that's in them. Everything from nano robots to chemicals. I've never done any needle drugs, and I'm not into them. And it creeps me out seeing people get stabbed with a needle. I don't think anybody has the right to pierce anybody else's skin without their consent.
And cow deworming medicine. So you're not a horse, you're not a cow, serious, so stop it. We heard from Mississippi, they were getting poison complaints, people fearing that they were poisoned.
FDA warns against the use of horse drug to treat COVID.
And of course, you have people who under that who were suggesting, I don't know, maybe there's a medical cartel that doesn't want you to take.
Who has access to a horse drug?
Medicine to deworming your cow pigs. It's all bizarre. Well, again, almost 200 million Americans have been vaccinated, and the numbers are overwhelmingly positive, overwhelmingly safe, and the numbers of unvaccinated
For how long?
that are
You know?
finding emergency rooms across America.
They haven't been tested for more than, a year or 2 years, so nobody has any idea if they're going to kill you after a year or two. They don't have any idea if they cause degenerative diseases, and there's a whole lot of food that's been approved that causes degenerative diseases, which is the slow breakdown of tissues and organs. I'm an organic vegetarian. All I eat is organic vegetarian food. USDA certified organic vegetarian food. No dairy, no cows, no fish. Organic vegetarian food. So I have 0 pills every day. I'm not a pill popper. And so, you know, these things that have been approved to cause disease. I just saw a website that said the FDA approved like 9 terrible things that could be in food over the years. Cigarettes. They approved cigarettes. So, you know, I mean, Jesus. Basically, they don't care if it slowly kills you over time. The only thing they care about is that it doesn't kill you immediately. If you don't drop over dead, then they might approve it. And that's not enough for me.
Yeah, from hydroxychloroquine to lights shoved in bodies to
Okay, that's it. I'm sick of watching people get jabbed or almost jabbed. These people are just so smug too. These rich white Democrats act like they have the answer. Everybody else is stupid for not listening to them. They better fall in line. Don't even question it. And that's ripe for disaster. You know, these people are supposed to be discerning. They're supposed to be asking questions. They're supposed to be presenting both sides. And they rarely do.
You know, let's just talk about what we're seeing here. Let's first talk about the audio and what this means, and what more can you tell us about what these pilots are doing?
Well, good morning, Brianna. Thank you for having me. These pilots are extraordinarily terrified for their safety, for the safety of their families. I think that they don't believe that the amnesty that the Taliban is claiming that...
I'm not watching Fox News anymore, but and part of the reason why is because they are fools that just like to spin every single story to make it anti-Democrat. And I just want to throw up because I studied journalism in college, and I value truth and stories and facts. I wrote and edited my college paper, and I'm not into their methods of telling a story and spinning it to put down people they don't like. It's absolutely insane. And I feel that some of these stories here on CNN and MSNBC are almost like a volley back after Fox has rattled their cage and made them uncomfortable about an issue. And I think Fox has a pretty big viewership, so maybe they're truly worried about them influencing too many people, and they feel like they've got to address these issues and take them seriously because Fox News does. I was saying earlier, I think that if Fox News didn't even say a word about this Afghanistan issue, that the liberal mainstream media probably would hardly even mention it at all, too. Like, say, if Trump was in office and this all happened to Trump, I'm sure they'd paint a rosy picture and move on real fast.
38 million people, and you now are in charge of this country, so you now bear the responsibility to make sure that there is...
It's really a shame that we have this two-party system, and they're intent on just firing shots at each other constantly. Because it's really the American people that get caught in the crossfire. Did I just mix metaphors? But seriously, instead of informing everybody with the truth and taking the high road, being a journalist first, spinning nothing, they take a different route on their own road. And they tailor their stories in a way that they defend the people they like and put down the people they don't like.
It seems as though that's very contradictory to what the message is of those in the upper government, upper levels of this new government who are proclaiming that there's going to be amnesty for such people. So I guess there needs to be more action, not just words, by this new government. I think that they really, obviously they're engaged with the international community. It sounds like that there needs to be, some really conditions on
I don't know. My parents are conservatives, Republicans. I used to be Republican, but I think I'm more liberal than they are. And I don't think my politics really fit into Democrat or Republican.
You're going to continue your work. I'm sure that you can just
So I've kind of related to the Libertarian Party some. But in the U.S., they pretty much lose every election.
We're standing by this morning for the FDA is expecting approval.
But they don't give Libertarians much time.
What is this going to mean for vaccine mandates?
This is so funny too. Like in print journalism, you don't really talk about what's going to happen. You're supposed to talk about what happened and tell people what they didn't know yesterday. And they keep saying over and over and over again that this vaccine is imminently going to be approved. And it's about to be approved, could be approved today, and just on and on and on. It's like, Jesus, just, why do you have to report on it before it happens? Can't you just wait and report on it after it happens? People waste a lot of time. And these stupid commercials, too. These commercials are brutal. Can't stand them. You know, if I'm not mistaken, about 20 minutes or so, maybe more, out of every hour, they broadcast commercials. And a lot of them are just horrible crap. All kinds of drugs and food that I wouldn't eat or give to animals or put in landfills. Here I've been watching the Weather Channel. Hurricane Henry's hitting, and 69-mile-per-hour winds in Rhode Island, 68 in Newport. I think it has changed into a tropical depression. They said that Central Park in New York got the most rain in 24 hours that it has gotten since 1888. It got 4.45 inches of rain. And that was the same day that they had that concert they've been planning for a long time. They said 75% of the bands played, but it rained out Bruce Springsteen. He didn't get to play. And what else? A lot of them are very old people. And some of the newer bands are bands that I didn't care for. So it wasn't exactly my cup of tea. I heard Earth, Wind, and Fire play September. That was okay. And Barry Manilow was on when it rained out. And they're saying it was the best concert ever. New Yorker Boys direct hit by Tropical Storm Henry. That's good. Yeah, de Blasio was saying it's the greatest concert New York has ever had. I'm going, wait. I went to an epic concert in New York, and I'm pretty sure it was better than that. And so did my mom. My mom went to Woodstock in Saugerties, New York in 1969. And I went to... that's the year that she may have conceived my sister, by the way. A sister that my parents never told me about, that they give up for adoption according to my aunts and uncle. And then in 1994, I went to Woodstock 94, also in New York. And it was a very good concert. It was awesome. So it beat the hell out of that one that they just had there, hands down. So find somebody that went to both and they'll tell you the 3-day Woodstock concert in 1994 was amazing. I saw bands like Peter Gabriel and Aerosmith and Metallica, Green Day, Red Hot Chili Peppers. There's a bunch of others too. It was awesome. Camped out there, met a lot of cool people. It was kind of a birthday gift for me, and I took my girlfriend, but she was my ex-girlfriend at the time. By the time the concert rolled around. San Diego.
Trees didn't stand a chance, and further inland, roads turning treacherous. A damaging blow for Henri as it winds down and moves out.
Heavy rains bear down in the heart of Tennessee.
I don't understand why the H in Henry is silent.
Floods that turned
I
deadly.
keep saying Henry, which is weird because Henry is kind of like what the parent might have been on the cross, Jesus cross, I-N-R-I, Henry.
At least 21 lives lost and dozens still missing. Among those killed,
Marilyn Manson sings Tattooed in Reverse.
the National Guard and other state and local emergency teams trying to account for those missing. This knocked out cell service and mass power
In
outages
reverse.
complicated loved ones' efforts to
Got
find each
tattooed.
other.
In reverse.
The woman and the children were on top of the roof.
He's a swell pastor's kid.
Homes, cars, and roads wiped out as residents clung on for life.
What did the storm look like to you? There was just a river, what it looked like.
My grandpa's name was Henry.
Just a full-blown river, straight through town.
A community, including the county sheriff, reckoning with the tragedy.
He fought in two wars, World War II and Korea.
Oh, well, he drowned in this.
My God, let's go straight to Bill Cairns for the
My
very latest
dad
on all of this.
says
Where do we
that
stand, Bill?
we're related to the Nazi party. He sent me a picture on July 4th of Nazis and he said they're my ancestors. So it's pretty amazing that they immigrated to America in the early 1900s and then my grandpa turned around and fought against them. And all my relatives are, four of my relatives are in four branches of the military, or they were. Grandpa, dad, uncle. And then I think my grandpa on the other side, my mom's side, also was a soldier.
So now let's get to Henri. And we were lucky with this storm. I mean, it lost a lot of its punch right before landfall. We only had
I never thought about it. So my parents told me that probably shouldn't talk about it. So they told me when I was a kid, and I didn't really understand what that meant. I was pretty little. I think other people have talked about it more than I have.
Central Park is almost at the 8 inches of rain over the last 3 days. We still have about 33 million people under flash flood watches, and the heaviest rain today will be from early this morning around New York City, shifting into Massachusetts and Connecticut during the day. We could see some really heavy rain bands, harder than even when the storm made landfall in areas like Long Island to New Haven to Hartford later on today. So here's the track of the storm. It'll eventually be near Boston late tonight into early tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I think I've had several people in my life that knew about it, that told other people, and I didn't realize that they did, and they treated me a little bit differently.
For the evening rush hour, the Mass Pike and areas of I-95 from Providence up to Boston will be dealing with some very heavy rainfall. So the bottom line is we still can see some additional flash flooding from Henri today. The majority of the damage is over with, and for the cleanup efforts in Tennessee, there's the weather is fine. It was okay yesterday too, but looking at that tragedy and that amount of rain in that short period of time, that was just eye-opening and so sad.
All right, Bill, thank you very much. We turn now to the latest with the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. Speaking to reporters at the White House yesterday, President Biden said the U.S. may extend the August 31st withdrawal deadline as evacuations in Kabul continue. Since August 14, the military has evacuated 28,000 U.S. citizens, allies, and Afghans, but many more still remain. Amid mounting criticism, President Biden argued yesterday that the exit from Afghanistan was always going to be difficult. NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba has the latest.
President Biden conceding the evacuation from Kabul has been hard and painful.
We have a long way to go, and a lot can still go wrong.
Acknowledging military
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Afghanistan is called the graveyard of civilizations. Pretty phenomenal, huh? How everybody just keeps losing in Afghanistan.
As the situation outside the airfield continues to deteriorate,
They might have had support from Pakistan or China or Iran, because none of those countries are fans of the U.S.
Senior officials concerned over a possible
And these people don't wear uniforms, they've got a turban and a beard. So So maybe they're not even Afghanistan people.
There are
Afghans.
still at least several thousand Americans stranded in Afghanistan. The White House not ruling out sending additional forces to help, with the president seeking daily input from his military commanders on the possibility of more troops. In a 30-hour period this weekend, the U.S. military helped airlift 11,000 people from Kabul. The Biden administration negotiated.
But you know, I mean, they've got to have some sorts of funding to. Well, if they don't, that's pretty amazing.
Military planes touching down regularly at Ramstein Air Base in
I think they
Germany.
know the terrain really well, kind of like the Vietnamese did in Vietnam, and they're accustomed to fighting in it. But you know, you would think after a number of years that Americans or Russians or whoever is there would be able to figure it out. But the Russians, they repelled the Russians too in the 80s. I saw a clip from Rambo 3 and on the John Oliver show. I saw Rambo, but I didn't remember this clip from Rambo 3. It was set in Afghanistan. It's pretty interesting.
I will say, 28,000 people have been evacuated this week. I remember Meek and I were saying after that first chaotic day that this is still a fluid situation and they need to establish the perimeter and get these people out. And I've got to say, what we've seen at least has certainly moved in the right direction. They are getting, 30,000 people out, and how high is their goal? If they want to end
I heard that some airlines are going to help them fly people out. I heard that Hawaiian Airlines is going to help them. Which is kind of funny because that one plane that they showed was just packed full of people. Oh my God, nuts to butts. Like 640 people, I think. And an airline can't take that many people. Unless, what are they going to do? Sit on people's laps? Like put them in the aisles? You know. They can help for sure. But I don't think any passenger planes carry that many people. My grandpa flew Corsairs off of an aircraft carrier, and then he worked for a major airline, and then he made flight videos, instructional videos, with a company that he helped start.
So we've seen Americans now push back that perimeter. We've seen the White House confirm that these
I worked with him there at the company
Americans
called King's Schools.
outside the airport. We now know that commercial flights have been activated. That once people are airlifted out of Afghanistan and go to a third-party country, usually other Middle Eastern neighbors, that then commercial airlines can be used to get them to their eventual destinations. So those are all steady signs of progress for this evacuation, but it's got a long way to go. There are tens of thousands of people, especially with Afghan translators and those who are helpful to the United States, who still want to get out of that country. That's why we heard from the president yesterday a little bit of wiggle room about that.
All this is so scripted and so
This is something the president
on
was told
point.
today
It's almost
that the situation there just proves that he was right.
too much.
That the Afghan forces, this was all
You know what I mean? I mean, Jesus. All of these people all scrubbed up, cleaned up, polished, painted, reading stuff. You got the B-roll showing the clips. You got the graphics. It's like, okay, got it. Thank you. You know, it's kind of almost bittersweet because I like live TV a lot. That's kind of why I watch this. And you know, if I jump on somewhere like Facebook or Twitter and send a message, people will get it in real time and they're watching the same thing. It's I could tweet the show or the writers, the speakers.
This didn't go the way they expected. I'm just curious how.
But it's at least it starts out very scripted, I think.
No matter when we left, I mean, especially to juxtapose that statement with the.
Doesn't leave a whole lot to
people chasing.
You know, serendipity or real time free thought, stuff like that. And that's what happens, you know, when people think and they say stuff, they have other thoughts. And that's kind of what interests me sometimes, even more than the scripted thoughts.
Kind of boxed himself in because he presented this as something that the United relatively organized in terms of withdrawal. And then as we saw last weekend, weekend before last, it really went very badly, very quickly. And that is what surprised the White House and what they were unprepared for. There's a nuanced argument to be had about whether the U.S. should have withdrawn totally, whether it should have left some troops there in the kind of capacity that they had in order to keep the situation stable. You can argue both sides of that. Honestly, I can hear both sides of that, and I can make a compelling argument.
They say stuff like the White House was unprepared or was chaotic, but I haven't heard anybody explaining, what they would have done differently or how they would have done this perfectly. And Biden was defensive, and I kind of liked his attitude, saying that he doesn't, basically that we don't owe anybody more American lives. And one of the greatest things he said was that if the Afghan military puts down their weapons and leaves and don't fight for their own country, then the Americans shouldn't fight for their country. And I agree. Jesus. It's not worth it to the people that live there. And why should it be worth it to us? If they're not willing to invest their blood, sweat, and tears with our help and weapons and presence and whatever we did for them and to them, if they still don't want to fight these people, then it's definitely not our fight.
Yeah, and it's such a great point, Caddy. There are nuanced arguments to be made on both sides. The argument I've made is we should have kept the 2,500 troops there, just like we should have kept the 3,500 troops in Syria. But if you followed Afghanistan for as long as Joe Biden's followed Afghanistan and other people, including the guests we're going to be having on in a few minutes, and you see the levels of corruption, you see the betrayal of Afghanistan, the people of Afghanistan, by the government there. You understand just how rotten to the core Karzai has been before he came to power, while he was in power, while Americans were spending billions and billions of dollars on that country. You certainly can understand an argument for the other side. Let's get out now. 20 years is too long.
Yeah, they were saying that President Ghani was not well liked and he might have been a little shady.
There seemed to be.
And yeah, if they have a leader they can't trust and don't like, then maybe they don't want to fight for him. Sometimes it's hard to tell whether these countries have just leaders that the U.S. installed that are like Washington yes men, or whether the people in their country actually like them and elected them and want them.
Kathy's right. There was a little more square with the facts yesterday from the president. And also we've seen a little more of that display of empathy from him about the situation that so many Americans and Afghans are going through there, which was noticeably absent at the beginning part of this crisis, the first part of last week. There's no sense of a policy change beyond what we talked about already. Perhaps extending deadlines slightly, continuing to move out the perimeter. But there will be, certainly there's an effort, and Joe Biden has promised that.
You're not going to show me any B-roll that's going to make me angry or judge anybody any differently, unless they're actually murdering somebody. And they won't do that. They don't show people getting killed on the B-roll. They just show stuff that they think is going to make people emotional. I don't have to get emotional if I don't want to. I don't have to see things, anything, the way they see it.
And while the president may not be looking to dismiss anyone in the near future, they acknowledge things went wrong and they need to figure out.
I can't believe that Trump might run for office again, because that would be insane. That guy's an idiot.
Now says that over 37,000 people have been airlifted out of Kabul since the start.
See, some of this is whatever it's called, like. I think they think that stuff like this will be used against Biden when he tries to run for re-election by Trump or the Republicans. And so they're trying to figure out how they can bring Biden through it without him losing because of it. But frankly, they don't have a very good imagination because, you know, chaos could have been a hell of a lot worse than what we saw. Hell of a lot worse. They could have thrown all the Afghan soldiers in jail. They could have beheaded people. They could have lit oil wells on fire. They could have invaded another country by now. They could be rounding up women and throwing them in jail. They could have been kidnapping children. I mean, you know what I mean? There's a million reprehensible things that they could do, but those things didn't happen. There's just a whole bunch of people rushing to the airport. Oh God, they didn't go to the airport in an orderly, timely fashion. And give them a break. You know, this is Afghanistan. It's not like, you know, Detroit or like Texas. Yeah, well, what did you want?
Right. I mean, it's, you know, we can really redefine chutzpah for Donald Trump and Mike Pompeo and Mike Pence to suddenly be claiming that they're outraged by the horrors of the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan because they're the ones who set this in motion. And they made
That's true too.
If in fact, if we want to
I think their story is that they were going to renegotiate with the Taliban or something. But yeah, I think the Trump clan said that they were going to get out by sometime in May 1st maybe. And obviously this isn't May, this is August. So I heard too this is the fighting season, quote unquote, fighting season. So maybe they shouldn't have left in the fighting season. People thought maybe something.
So they set this in motion, and they have no right, no standing whatsoever right now to criticize what is happening. And you know, badly as it's been going,
You know, I think the Democratic Party fears the Republicans maybe too much, and they worry about their money and their spin, their old money, and the way that they're going to buy ads and belittle Biden and company. And so they're just spending undue time on trying to repair his reputation that the conservatives trash.
Tens of thousands of people, not just U.S. citizens, but Afghans who work for us and helped us. And I can't imagine Donald Trump going to that kind of effort because already you see his base out demonizing the Afghan refugees.
But I said earlier, I can't see Trump doing anything. The only thing I wouldn't want his opinion on hotels or TVs. All I can tell is that he can put on a suit and read. That's the only thing I can tell he can do. If he's qualified to do anything except wear a suit and read, I would be thrilled to learn about what he's good at.
So the response of the buck stops with Joe Biden, and he is the one that
his businesses were failures. The TV show saved his ass. He was in all kinds of debt. And so he's a TV personality. A lot of his companies went under, his hotels went under. He was given a crap load of money, loans and gifts from his dad. So, I mean, he had chances to screw up, and he screwed up, and then he had more chances, and then he finally made some good deals, I think, and investments, and got on TV.
He was talking about that goofy idea of bringing the Taliban to Camp David. He sent his Secretary of State over to negotiate the surrender of the United States to the Taliban. He effectively cut out the Afghanistan government, undermining them, making it known that it was a fait accompli. And then Donald Trump started criticizing Joe Biden in April for not getting the troops out fast enough. That is what's so laughable about people. Donald Trump apologists, I think, shocked and said, it was very clear. There were quite a few Republicans.
Trump is terrible. Jesus Christ. If I ever see his face again or hear his voice, it will be too soon.
Kowtowing to the Taliban and Mike Pompeo signing SHM.
I don't know what value he has.
Right, and people like Trump and Pompeo just need to find
I don't know what appeal he has.
just shut up and stop
You know,
criticizing
I think the
somebody
people
based on
that
emotion.
like him and vote for him are low information voters that just like some jerk that can quote one-liners and anti-Democrat party stuff and pound his chest and make people think that he can change the country back into the way it was in the mid-1900s. I also think him and his dad had sort of a utopian view of the country that they probably talked about, and that probably occurred a long time ago. And the country is very, very different now. And also, he used to be a Democrat, a Democratic Party. So there's really no telling how much of this is unscripted and how much of this is serendipitous and how much of it was sort of planned or foreseen by the kingmakers.
To criticize what's going on. These are the folks who sent the airplane into a nosedive, and they can't now be criticizing the crash that occurred subsequently.
Columnist for the Washington Post, Max Boone, thank you very much for being on this morning. And coming up, dozens of doctors in Florida are planning to stage what looks like a walkout today over the
What do you think the answer to that is?
New HBO documentary digs into COVID outbreak in China and U.S. Less than 5,000 people have died in China from the COVID-19 virus. And almost 650,000 people have died in the U.S. So I remember Donald Trump, when he was president, saying China did a bad job with the virus, and I said, no, China did an amazing job with the virus. They haven't even had 5,000 deaths. And Donald Trump disbanded the pandemic task force that Obama put together in 2018 because he wanted to save money. So I said at some point he's the least progressive president we've ever had. Or he doesn't have a progressive bone in his body, something to that effect.
That number 600,000, I don't think people see today 600,000 Americans dead. Nancy White, in the same breath, is a terrific piece of work. Thank you so much for being with us.
Sort of like the opposite of a prophet.
An entire school district.
He gets a lot of things wrong. And if he's a prophet, he's a false prophet because he said things that will happen that did not happen. And that reminds me, I was going to look up the time when he said that he's never asked for forgiveness, you know. That was a huge red flag when I heard it. And if there were actual Christians in the United States that read the Bible and that cared deeply about the scriptures, they would have been a red flag to them too. Because the whole religion, Christianity, is based around repenting from your sins, telling God you're sorry for doing things and changing. And when he said that he's never asked for forgiveness, that means he's not a Christian. That means he doesn't know what a Christian is, which, you know, is maybe neither here nor there, but I think a whole lot of his constituents consider him a Christian and a tool from God and whatever. And by his own admission, you know, that's a huge problem if character-wise and religion-wise and just everything. But his point was that he likes to make amends or make it right. And that was what he was getting at. But you know, how arrogant do you have to be to say that you've never asked for forgiveness? And what kind of weird, horrible person are you if you can never say you were wrong and you're sorry? Even to God, you know, by yourself. Can't even ever admit that to anybody, including God. Jesus. There have been an extraordinary number of Botox commercials on TV lately. It's really weird. I hate Botox. I think it's the stupidest thing that there is. I think future generations are going to look back and go, you injected what into your skin? Botulinum toxin? Oh my God. These people are crazy idiots. What are they thinking? And it's just 100% vanity. I don't think there's any medical reason for getting Botox except for vanity. It just takes away the lines for about 6 months, is what I think it does. So, like, in other words, if I was worried about that line right there, or maybe that line right there, I could get botulinum toxin injected into my skin, and it will numb it up so it doesn't do that anymore for about 6 months, and then it will come back probably. I mean, how vain and stupid is that? Jesus. File it under elective surgery. I don't know what it's like to be a woman. You know, I know women have a lot more pressure to be beautiful, and I've heard that they make less money than men, and you know, maybe that has something to do with the appeal. But I figured a long time ago that I want to age naturally. I don't want surgeries and injections, and it's okay to have a smile line. You know, if I didn't have any smile lines, that means that I was never smiling, and that's not good. You know, lines are normal. It's not normal to inject a toxin into your body for vanity. It would be much more healthy to put oil on your body, for instance. Stay hydrated, hydrate your skin.
This morning, an entire school district in a small town in West Texas is under quarantine, and the local hospital does not have ICU care available. If residents need ICU-type care, the closest trauma centers are about 100 miles away. Rosa Flores has the links.
In the small oil field town of Iran in West Texas.
Iran.
Oh, check it out.
Looks like Iran with an
Just
extra
about
A.
everyone passes by Nancy Rex barbecue joint.
Yeah.
But recently, most of the traffic stopped.
See, if people were wise, they would be telling everybody to be as healthy as possible. They'd be getting rid of everything that harms human health.
In the span of 2
And
weeks,
I don't understand why they're not doing that, you
119
know?
people got tested for COVID at Iran General Hospital, and 50
Because
tested positive.
I don't think this
And
virus kills
32%
people normally.
positivity rate.
I think it kills people with preconditions like
Vicky Zapata
obesity,
says her coworker
like
Carla
cardiovascular
Vargas harnessed
disease,
both
and
got infected.
other things like that. And what causes these preconditions is the fuel they burn and the food they eat.
Sammy got sick
Their
first.
environmental issues cause
And no
the
matter the days,
acquired things cause the preconditions. Things they do to themselves either by their choice or by accident, or because they don't have enough discipline. And nobody's taking that route. Nobody's saying that. See, this is the pop-up pill mentality that many Americans have, or throw money at it mentality that many Americans have. The other things get to the point of no return where they're just jacked up, screwed up, and then they finally wake up and look for a pill they can pop, or try to throw money at the problem to fix it.
but Sammy's condition deteriorated. Vicky
It's a
says
shame.
she started
I don't think
praying for
perhaps
ICU
other people in
bed.
other countries don't feel that way and think that way. Maybe that's why they dealt with it better. But you know, if they were smart, they'd be like Greta Thunberg was saying, you know, they should take the climate catastrophe seriously and treat it like a climate catastrophe and not just like a political football. And I wouldn't even phrase it that way. I look at it as a filth catastrophe. I just rode my bike almost 25 miles the other day, and I had to breathe in all kinds of people's pollution, all kinds of automobile pollution from fools. That's not right, I'm doing the right thing, the healthy thing for me, the good thing for all life on Earth, and these people are harming my health, and they're harming all life on Earth's health, which in turn, you get enough people doing that, and apparently it affects the entire climate of the planet, But ever since its inception, they've always tried to move the blame off of humans. It used to be global warming, and then it's climate change. It's never like, your filth stinks, you should stop.
With so many people in quarantine, Ira Aaron is quieter than mine, especially now as the town begins to move.
So yeah, I don't care. I'll stand alone. I'll be the only person that feels this way if that's the way it is.
This is horrible. This is horrible.
Yeah, because I don't think there's a political party that feels me.
Just wants this COVID out.
I think that the Republican Party totally denies that pollution is an issue, and I think that the Democratic Party sees it as an issue and wants to fix it way down the line sometime. And they've got good words and good intentions, maybe, but they don't have a clue or a plan to do it expediently. And it'll happen when it happens. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. And see, they both look identical to me because neither of them are making any personal changes. Neither of them are taking any personal responsibility. One of them is denying it's a problem, and the other one's just kicking it down the road.
Thank you so much for taking us into that.
They behave the same way. They just have two different stories. Alright, I'm gonna shut this off because that's an hour and they tend to repeat themselves. And I don't like repeating myself. Peace and stay up. Be good. Take care of yourself.